Okay, we should be about live. Let's see. Are we? Yeah, now we are. Awesome. What is up, high profit accountant community? Hope everyone's doing awesome. I am pulling up our live stream now so I can see who's tuning in with us. Let us know where you guys are watching from, please. Really excited to dive into the topic of AI and some ways that we can leverage automation and tools to streamline the grunt work or the technical work when it comes to tax prep, when it comes to financial analysis. And we have Irene with us here today. I want to make sure I pronounce your last name right, Irene. It's
Waxler, Waxler.
Wachsler. Okay, Irene Wachsler. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I got my coffee ready to go. If you guys, I'm a little caffeinated up, so.
Oh, you're
Cool.
not on the East Coast then. It's 3 o'clock, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's I'm in Phoenix, so it's 1 o'clock here.
Oh, okay. I love
Yeah,
Phoenix. It's a great place. I love it.
awesome.
Last
Cool.
time I was there a long time ago, we did the stagecoach ride. That was very interesting. All I can say is if I had to go cross country again, I think I'd walk or take a horse, but definitely not the stagecoach. It is
Okay.
not what they show in the westerns at all. No way. It's very
Okay.
bumpy, I go bum, 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 bum.
I haven't checked that out yet. I definitely have some sightseeing to do out here. That's pretty cool. I want to go to like Tombstone and places like that to venture around. But yeah, so I'm really excited to dive in. This is, AI, there's a lot of things moving very fast in this space, right? So
Yeah.
I just for starters, can you just share a little bit about maybe a little bit about your background and how you kind of got into the accounting world in general?
Oh, sure. So I was a software engineer. Accounting is a second career for me. And I was a software engineer for 25 years.
Wow.
I worked for Honeywell Bull, did assemble language, things that most people don't know about anymore. And then I got into voice response, press one to do that, press two to go there, press three to go wherever you want. And I
Mhm.
eventually got burned out. So I went into accounting. I joined my mom's firm back in 2006, I think, a long
Okay.
time ago.
Yeah.
And not Millie, my mom, she's still around. She's retired. And I took her practice and basically started automating it. So we were online way before COVID because remember, I'm an engineer by background. So I
Yeah.
do not like the green sheets. They're okay. But I'm definitely into computers. And for your listeners out there, I'm sure you're all on computers. But if you want a green sheet and you can't find it, Millie still has some.
We're
She's
talking
about
about like
100 left.
ledger paper and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those green, yeah, she still
Yeah.
uses it. It's very interesting when it wraps out, and everything, and I want to save something and scanning that thing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I found those at some of the past firms I worked in, and I was like, man, how did this work get done at this? Like, how did it get done like that way? Like that must have taken so much more time and
Oh,
uh,
it did. Automation. I was onto automation. Like Excel. I can remember when I first started working with my mom. She had the calculator and she'd go vroom, like really fast and everything. And she got me a calculator. That was the gift. And I looked at her and I said Excel. And I just put the numbers in Excel.
right.
It showed. So when she saw how quick it could add, she became a spreadsheet person very quickly.
Right. That's awesome. And what a like interesting, I came from I went to college and got a marketing and accounting degree, which people thought like a lot of people say that's weird, right? I think you're kind of in that similar boat of like just an interesting transition from the software engineering world to the accounting world. But I think that probably lends, as we're going to talk about, really well to how you built up and designed your firm.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no, it was great because I mean, computers, of course, they're using computers to e-file, and I was my mom's tech support person with the old computers and whatnot. So since it was mostly computerized, it would just seem like a natural fit. And
mhm.
I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I have an MBA from Babson. So entrepreneurship is in my blood. And working for me is great. I love working for me, and working for my mom was great. And the one thing that I'll say that I really appreciate with my mom, and I'll say that for folks who are looking to transition your practice in a few years or even a decade is when you bring somebody new, you let them do the ideas and let them fail. And that's what my mom did because my mom hates computers. She's very afraid of it. Like just to give you an example, I love my mom dearly, but she learned to use the VCR when her 2-year-old granddaughter showed her how to get Barney on the TV. She decided it was time that she learned how to use the VCR as well. So technology and Millie are, she was a little afraid of it. And to her credit, when I came in and I had new ideas, she let me run with it. And
Mm,
sometimes it worked, it usually worked, and sometimes it didn't work. But she didn't say, "Oh, I told you so, we're going back to the old way." She was open to new ideas because she said this is going to be your business in a few years.
mm,
And so she just like guided me, mentored me, but stepped back and
mm.
just let me do what I wanted to do and made it easier. And then she retired and she's very happy. She's on vacation right now, actually. She's at a resort, so
Oh
it's
man,
really,
nice.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's
but it's just advice because sometimes I hear people, my peers say, "Oh, by this person, they did this, they did that, and I don't want to do this and that." And it's like, you got to change.
yeah. So
You,
yeah,
you, you have
well,
to change.
yeah,
The world's changing so fast, and like my marketing department is my niece and my nephew. They're great.
right.
They're in their early 20s,
Yeah.
and they're
Hmm.
fantastic. They tell me all about the new technology that's out there.
Hmm.
So.
That's awesome.
'Cause
Staying
it's hard
touch.
to keep up at times. Even though I thought I kept up, it's still hard to keep up.
100%. Yeah, it's getting harder. So when did you become owner? What year was it that you transitioned into owner there?
Oh, I became owner right away with my mom, 2006.
Okay, and then what's kind of happened since? Give me a rundown of like the past 18
Well,
years.
we, Millie was great. She was cheaper than H&R Block, and she would go to your house and she wouldn't charge you the time. And she'd sit there and do the tax return in front of you. And she had some very wealthy clients who owed a lot of taxes. She felt bad, so she would give you a break on top of her already
Um,
discounted break, right? So it took time to change the price structure,
right.
change the whole business model from meeting face to face over dinner, setting
Hmm.
up the computer. I remember one night it was awful. The computer decided it didn't want to boot up right away. It was
Hmm.
old, and I wanted to get a new computer, but it's hard to convince some people to get a new computer. She didn't want to do that. I was like, I don't know, her friend or something.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I changed that whole model very slowly and bringing up her old clients to new prices and through attrition, because her clients got older. She got older. A lot of them lived a long life, but then passed away. And for
Yeah.
those who didn't like the price change, they went to H&R Block, and it was funny because it was right down the street from our office. And in 20 minutes, they'd be right back when they saw H&R's prices. We were still cheaper, even though we were going up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but now we're very competitive in pricing and so forth.
Right.
And a lot of those people they go to the senior center for free.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, that's what the word public, that's how I feel. If somebody comes to me with just a W-2 or 1099, I'm like, yeah, we can do it. But we have to charge you. Or you can go to the senior center or in Massachusetts now, you can go online with the IRS and do it for free.
Right.
So your call, whatever you want to do. And a lot of people said thank you and did it for free. And I'm fine with that. Because
Yeah.
those.
Not everybody's your ideal client, right? And
Exactly. You need to
it's
market, you need to target. So
yeah,
very targeted.
everyone that we've worked with on price increases and things like that, it's been it's just been successful. I mean it's opened up capacity or it's massively helped the firm profitability. So
Right.
it's very seldom I hear anything bad that came out of a price increase. I mean, it sounds like you guys have a similar story as
I
you.
mean, a retired person, they have a certified financial planner. Their money's is in retirement. They're very conservative. There's not much tax planning that they need from us.
Right. Yeah.
So those were her kinds of clients. They were people who retired, who worked, who were W-2 wage earners, and now they're retired. They might have a couple assets, but they're
Mhm.
living off of Social Security and their 401k or their IRAs. Um, not ultra wealthy, house rich, cash
Mhm.
poor,
Sure.
So, well, average property in Massachusetts is around, in Greater Boston is around $1 million. So,
Wow. That's crazy.
you are
Yeah.
house rich. You didn't
Yeah.
pay a million when you got it, but
Right.
it contributes to the housing crisis because you want to sell your house, and not many people can afford that kind of price. So it's um, it's kind of tragic in one way, But
Yeah.
I'm not a politician. I stay out of that whole mess. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about like the AI. So how did you end up getting into I guess I don't know when the AI and ChatGPT became mainstream. It's been a few years now, I guess. I don't know how many years it's been now, but how did you implement it into your firm first, and then you started to become like an expert in it, or what kind of happened there?
So I was using ChatGPT for a couple years.
Hmm.
Uh, didn't care for it too much. I used Bard, or now Gemini, and I was using it mostly to help me with my writing, right?
Hmm.
Sending out emails and so forth, and cleaning up some. Well, I'm a CPA, so we can't clean up the language in the engagement letter because the AI CPA and the insurance companies, they have very specific language that Gemini hates, but I
Mm.
don't want to touch that, right?
Okay. Okay.
But other types of letters and articles, so forth. And I took some online training with Frank Agostino, who teaches tax controversy. He's a very nice man, very well respected, and he used POE.com. And he gave a class on Poe. He has a 20-minute video on it. And I looked at it and I said, wow. And I just spent the whole weekend working with Poe. And what I liked about Poe is that you can load your own source documents because there's two challenges with AI, right? One challenge is what's called hallucinations. The AI or the bot is like a dog. It wants to please you and it doesn't know the answer. So it will scour the entire internet to find the answer that it thinks you want.
Right.
So when you're talking tax resolution or anything technical, you don't want an answer from TikTok video, oh, how to beat your taxes, how to do this. You don't want it from YouTube. You want it from authoritative sources like the IRS, right?
Right. Right.
Ideally. Okay. And these bots, they scoured the whole web. So you couldn't really trust what they said. You had to verify, so it was a good start, but still wasn't that helpful. But what I like about Poe is you can load documents and it will only use that as a reference. So if I ask a question
Hmm.
and it's in the documents, like the IRS, so let's say you're under an audit with the IRS, and the
Hmm.
IRS has there's a procedures manual that the IRS personnel have to follow, right?
Hmm.
And I'm being very hypothetical here. The audit's not going well. The person is new, they're doing all kinds of things, and they're not listening or they're not accepting certain evidence. Like a good example, travel. There's what's called the Cohen rule, the Cohen, George Cohen. Your client doesn't have a mileage log, but you've recreated it. You've
Okay.
made reasonable estimates, and they say, "Oh, we don't have all the receipts. We're not going to accept it." Blah blah blah. Well, there's a procedure that you can put in. You can punch in and say, "Here's what happened. Here's the documents. Did this person follow the rules or not?" And the bot will tell you yes or no, and it will give reference. So now you can pinpoint where that is, where they didn't follow it, and
Right.
take the appropriate action. So you still need to know, but it just helps you because I don't know what the step number is. I have no idea what chapter it is, and I don't want to go through this whole book just to find it. It does it all for you.
Wow.
Another example is that I've done, which is very successful. I had a client that had 4 kids, right? Tax credit for 4 kids, and they live out in rural, I don't know, Georgia, North Carolina, somewhere out rurally in the country,
Okay.
and they got another kind of a credit that we don't have it that I've never seen because I don't do rural people, but it's a $2,000. I don't even remember what kind of credit it is, but it's something about for your real estate or housing or something like that. So the IRS has a bug. If you have 4 kids, you only get the tax credit for 3 kids, and you don't get the tax credit, the child tax credit for the fourth kid. So what I did was I stripped the IRS transcripts out of the personal information, including the DCN. I stripped the tax return. I got all of that out. And I fed it through my bot and I said, tell me, I think the IRS made a mistake. What do you think? And it came back and said, oh, yeah, the IRS did make a mistake. And here it is. And it showed me the mistake. And then I said, okay, write a letter to the IRS asking for that $2,000. And it wrote a letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it did it all. So it took me about 10 minutes to strip all the information out. And it did it in about 45 seconds, maybe a minute.
Mhm.
And I had to modify the letter, of course, but it's a tool,
Yeah.
Half the work was already done, and it just pointed me to the right direction, where to
Right.
go.
Yeah, that's
Um,
absolutely crazy. And if that could take a day's work down to 30 to 60 minutes, right? I mean, depending on how
Easily.
much, how much research we feel like we need to do or what's enough's enough and all that stuff trying to solve this problem. ChatGPT, I know that we're talking about different models, but that's the one that I've been using mostly for content creation, and I'm just super blown away by how good AI is getting at.
Hmm.
I can feed AI sample posts that I've done or sample content that I've done, or you could, and I don't know if you recommend this or not, but you could put in sample IRS letters that you've written and get it to talk back in your voice, like
Yeah,
say like me, right? And it's getting really good at that. I mean, I've
yeah.
been impressed. So
Hmm.
learning how to prompt it is definitely the the kind of the secret sauce there. But it's that
It
those are
is.
really good examples that you gave right there.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
the other challenge though is when you build your library, and you're using authoritative sources, some sources like the tax, I want to say insider, is copyright. So you
Right.
want to make sure, like if you have a subscription to a database or something, that you don't use copyright materials in the bot. Because even though they say that, oh, it's not shared, that information is definitely shared with the creators. And that's why it's very important to make sure that you strip out all personal information, okay? Or
Right.
I'll say non-public, because I also created a bot that does financial statement review. So here's a challenge that I have. Um, in Massachusetts, if you are a nonprofit and you earn over $200,000, you have to have a financial statement review. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, that was a lot of money about when I first started in 2006. But honestly, $200,000 is nothing today, right? I mean, it's right. So a lot of the nonprofits, the IRS is catching up with them and they're finding that they have to file with our Attorney General's office. So they're 3, 4 years behind. The AGO's office wants you to file 3 years ago. And if the revenue is over $200,000, they want a financial statement review, period. I honestly, I'm not sure what the value of a review that is 3 years old is, okay, because it's 3 years later. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo it and say financial statement reviews aren't valuable. They definitely are, especially for the current period. But are they
Mhm.
really valuable 3 years ago? Who cares? But the
Yeah.
AGO cares, and you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And the way it works, if you ever go through a PPC or Wolters Kluwer checklist, CCH,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
thousands of questions. It's ridiculous, right? And I've been dinged in the past by peer review, like simple nonprofit, 200,000. It's easy. Program services is salaries, right? Maybe some program expenses like food, travel, nothing exotic. They don't own buildings, okay? They
Yeah.
might have some computer equipment like a laptop and a printer, all right? Some paper, some office supplies. They
Mhm.
don't have inventory. They don't have derivatives. They don't have half the stuff that's in that checklist. So
Right.
when you say NA, you have to say why NA
Oh,
for
geez.
each
Yeah.
question, okay?
Really?
Oh my gosh. So I had two of these nonprofits come up to me and say, we need a review for 4 years. Oh my God, I got to charge them a ridiculous fee for each year. But so what I did was I checked in with some personnel at the AICPA. I created my own bot and the bot helped me create my own financial statement review program, right?
Wow.
20
Wow.
pages of work versus 2,000. Okay.
Wow.
And I've had it reviewed by one person informally, a peer reviewer, and they couldn't see anything missing, but it was very informal. And Next week, I am reaching out to my peer reviewer to see if they can review my program. But this bot helped me create the program. I loaded into it the AICPA guidelines, all right, for SSAE, statement of whatever the engagement, whatever the heck they call it. I'm not good in acronyms. I'm sorry.
All
And I
good.
loaded in the FASBs, all right.
Uh-huh.
And this thing did a great job. And of course, and then on this nonprofit, like most nonprofits, the board members are related to each other, right? The accountant is his daughter's the executive director. So there's related parties galore. So I created a related parties questionnaire. The
Uh-huh.
bot did it for me. I
Wow.
mean, it was great. I just fine-tuned it, but it did that. It did the initial preliminary analytical analysis for me. And what was great about that was it highlighted where I would highlight, and it gave me verbiage to put in my work papers into review, right? So it
Mhm.
saved a ton of time. And also, the way I'm doing this, it's all 4 years in one statement,
Yeah.
one review, okay? To make it feasible for the clients because they're not paying me to do to do financial statements. No, if I'm given to a charity, I would be burning if I gave my donation and knew that my donation was going completely to pay for, some ridiculous requirement like this. I'd
Right.
be livid, right? It's supposed to go for services.
Right.
You do need G&A, but 20%, think about an organization that's revenue is $220,000, right? And the average cost of a review is between four to $6,000. I
Right.
think you multiply that by four because they made a mistake they didn't know because they had change. I mean,
Hmm.
I think it's kind of punitive, but it's statutory. It's the
Well,
law, you know?
let's zoom out a little bit on this. These are some like really good examples of how you've massively leveraged AI to save crap tons of time for
Yeah.
lack of better terminology. I'm like thinking about the audience in here, and on so right now, if I think I think about most accountants probably aren't leveraging any AI in delivery and in client fulfillment, and I'd also say on the financial statement review rough, I mean, not a large percentage of people. I would say that it's a pretty big minority of people that are doing statement reviews in here. Maybe 10 to 20%. And if they are, they're probably just doing a handful. Um, I know like tax prep is big, but like let's think about this practically. Like if we're talking to firm owners in here that aren't leveraging AI at all and they're talking about talent shortages and needed to bring in tax prep help and things like that. This is pretty intriguing because it's like, hey, this can help solve our, getting some of this delivery off the owner's plate potentially. How practically, what are some things that you recommend if someone's starting from scratch?
I would
Uh,
recommend starting small.
yeah.
Looking at tasks that you take a step back and map your processes, right? And if you think you can hire somebody to do the process, I would bring them in. Bring the AI, train that. There's Microsoft Copilot that does some of this work as well. You want to be a little careful with Copilot because it shares everything with Microsoft. And
Okay.
so that means that it's sharing your documents, your clients' information. You just want to be careful on that. I was told that Microsoft no longer does that. Um, I don't know. I don't trust them. Uh,
Yeah, I get you.
I don't trust them at all. That's why I strip everything out. And so what I do is
Looks
I
like Bill Gates just entered the room. No, I'm just kidding.
that's fine, whatever. I use my OneDrive, when you have not a I think you have it with your Apple computer, but I have a IBM type, laptop, whatever, Microsoft laptop, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And when you have Office, you get OneDrive. So I use my OneDrive for the documents that I upload to Poe that I don't mind sharing. And my
Right.
client information is on a separate drive, and the two do not communicate whatsoever. There's no way I would ever upload a document from my personal drive into Poe. It goes to OneDrive. And there's two reasons for that. The other reason is in order to keep your bot updated, the IRS is a great example. They have updates like every day, right? And so in 3 or 4 months, whatever documents you've uploaded, like offer and compromise, or even the new tax law, right?
Mhm.
TCJA is going to change. You're going to want to update that information. You don't want old information.
Of
Well,
course.
what's in there? All right. So you have to have a really good document management system so you know what's in your bot. I mean, if you only have one, that's easy, right? But when you start having four or five bots, you're not sure. In Poe, you can pick the bots that you want. You can pick, like, you can use Claude, Anthropic Claude. You can use ChatGPT. You can use Mistral. You can use Gemini. I recommend using different bots because you're going to get different answers that you're going to need to research. All
Right.
right. And if
Yeah.
anybody here is an attorney and you're using the bot for research, right, for your cases, you most likely now have to sign something off with the court that any site that you use the AI and that you personally looked up and made sure that the cases that you cite really exist. Because
Interesting.
there have been some attorneys that cite cases that don't exist. Because remember, I said it hallucinates, right? And it just makes it up.
That's
And if you
good.
think that the judge doesn't know, the judge has interns because my niece is studying to be an attorney. And those interns look up every case that the judge gets.
Right.
Boy, do they look it up, all right? So they'll know. And I've been training my bot not to hallucinate by giving it information that I know it can't answer. And when it did the first time, I said, "Hey, that's not correct. Where did you get that from?" And it came back with some site. And I said, "Print out that paragraph that you just cited." And it said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't give me enough information to answer that question." And I wrote back and said, "Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that." Right? So I trained
Not
it.
that I got angry at the AI.
Yeah, you have to. It's like a person. You have to, you respectfully angry. You can't swear at it. It shuts down if you swear at it.
Oh,
But
okay.
respectfully push back. So now my bot is trained to say, "I don't know," which is great because that's what I want to hear.
Do you
I don't
use
want,
please and do you use please and thank you?
I do. Yeah, I'm very polite. And I tell it what the task is and what we're doing. And I say you're a CPA with 15 years or 20 years of experience. And, we've looked at all of this before. And for the review, I work with nonprofits. So their information is public anyways. So
Yeah.
I don't really care if Google or whoever knows that I'm using it for a nonprofit because it's public. It's out on the IRS, it's on GuideStar, so the information's there, but I still strip the name out, okay?
Mhm.
Because I'm trying to be anonymous. But as soon as I tell it to go to the website to make sure that what's on the website agrees with the financial information, or are there any discrepancies, you'd be surprised because sometimes there are. No, just different things to make sure everything is okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Wow. There's so much here. I feel like this sounds like probably a lot for some people. That's like, wow, this sounds very like I don't know, this I'm just kind of getting started in this area. What is this
But you
something?
don't have to be a programmer. See, that's the great thing. I didn't know code, right? You
Yeah.
just compose you create your bot, you load your reference materials, and you're
Mhm.
off and running. And I wrote an article on the New York
Mhm.
CPA Society, the tax stringer, on how to
Oh,
do that.
that's
Um,
awesome.
what
Yep.
to do because like and post like I don't know, it's like $20 a month or $150 a year. ChatGPT's like $20 a month, Scholar or
Right.
Claude. I mean, you can do this at a
Yeah.
reasonable cost.
I'm gonna paste in the link for the article that you wrote. Okay.
Right. So you can do that. And like my colleague, Rema Hayes, she does a lot of CFO work. So she asks it to analyze financials and you can punch in a lot of information. I mean, I do crypto a lot and I use Luca Tax, and converting a CSV file into Luca's format can be very painful. And I've trained a bot to do that. So I just upload an Excel file and it comes back, or a CSV file, and it comes back and spits out the correct format for me. So it
Right.
saves me time, and I just suck that in there and get the results. I mean, it's really good depending on what you want to do with it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
some of the other tools that Microsoft has, you have to know how to program, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, I've been Power BI, you gotta know how to program and take all these classes. I don't have to do that.
Hmm.
It does all this analytical stuff for me. I tried Watson, IBM Watson, forget it. Very expensive
Hmm.
and very complex, and I don't have the time for it because I'm not a programmer anymore. It's not my job, and I don't
Right.
want it to be my job. So it's like a word, I guess it's kind of like a word processor, the prompting. And you use it for image generation, for marketing. It's easy, right? You tell it what you want and it comes back with some ideas. And if you don't like it, you can fine tune it. It's in English, right? You just type. All you gotta know is how to type. You don't even have to type. You can speak, right? And it comes back. So that's what makes this tool so great. And it's accessible to folks who are solo practitioners. You don't have to be a large company and spend thousands of dollars. Although
Hmm.
there are bots out there. So the tax book said they're going to have a bot. I think it's being released December 15th for tax research, which I think will be great. You
Interesting.
know, and it's
Yeah.
Blue Jay. There are other solutions, but I don't think the tax book is gonna their bot. I don't know. I at this point, Blue Jay does not analyze tax transcripts or anything, but if you want to look up tax research, it's probably very good. I've seen it.
Hmm.
Now they're all good. Nova Tax, they all do the same thing. But this is a little more different. It's more customizable for you
Hmm.
and for me.
I'm seeing your article. I pulled up your article here, and it's very practical. You're putting like step by step of what to do about how to create a chatbot in there. So you guys should just definitely check out that New York State article. The links in the comments. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
if you can't reach it, let me know. Shoot me an
yeah.
email.
Are you
Uh,
are you working with accountants at all on any of this stuff, or doing trainings, or I'm curious.
um, I've spoken to different groups
Hmm.
who people have asked me, but they're doing it all on their own. I don't think I need to do that. I'm just using it as a tool and I'm sharing information. I'm on a couple like the New York Society. I've given a couple of classes on this. We're going to be doing this again. I'm going to be working with Irene Hayes, and we're going to be doing a training on how to use AI for your tax resolution and tax work on January 22nd in the afternoon when we have our Meet the IRS conference. It will be in person and virtual. In person at the AICPA headquarters in New York City, wherever that is.
Awesome.
Um, and if
Wow.
you're not a member of the New York Society, I think it's going to be $50 or something. I can't control what they charge. I don't get into bureaucracy, even though I'm bored of something. I just stay away from the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've spoken at a couple of conferences on this as well.
I know.
I just want to share the knowledge.
I love that. Yeah. I thank you for sharing this. It's super. You're putting it looks like you're putting your heart and definitely your skills in this, and just sharing how this is saving you hours and hours and hours and hours. I
Yeah.
see you're using it for financial statement reviews. You're using it for tax research and tax resolution. Are you
Mhm.
leveraging it all in any of like your standard tax compliance, tax prep stuff, or not as much?
Well, I was using it for tax saving strategies
Okay.
with
Yeah.
my clients,
Yep.
and it was good. And sometimes it was bad, but overall it was good.
Mhm.
And my clients are pretty much all the same. So the strategies, and some people will disagree with me, but there really aren't many strategies, probably about 15, 20, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
And the other thing that I do is I use a product from Canada called Evernote, right? So when I write something to a client, for example, I explain capital gains. People don't understand short term, long term. They think, oh, I inherited this stock and I don't have to worry about the cost basis. You do,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
So I write something up, run it through my bot or through to clean up the language, and then I cut and paste that in a note. So that way, when I get the question again, I can just do a quick search on Evernote, boom, cut, paste, gone, out. So that's my method of answering the same question multiple times because there's only so many questions you can have, right? I mean,
That's
that's
all.
it.
Yeah.
Client fills in my form on my website. They want to prospect. They want to meet. I have a boilerplate on here's the link to click on to make a meeting, stuff like that. I try to automate as much as I can with some customization because that's what this is. This GPT, chat, it's just this huge database. And
Mhm.
I'd explain that in my article, but it's just a very complex database that is much more complex than our mind. But at the end of the day, it's still a database. And the data is only as good as what you feed it,
Right.
right? And you
Yeah.
have to have enough knowledge to know what is good and what isn't good. And it's just a computer, and all computers do is follow instructions, and it's following very complex instruction, and it has interesting insights, but you
Mhm.
still need to double check it. Just like the word, a great example is my niece and nephew into texting. I hate texting, okay, but I text. We
Okay.
text,
Okay.
right? And you know how when you start typing something, the auto check comes in, and you're like,
Mhm.
no, I didn't want to say that. Well, the AI is the same way. It's going to do the same thing until you train it enough times, though the
Mhm.
texting still isn't trainable, right? It still wants to say that word no matter what, right? The AI
Right.
is a little smarter. It knows after the 10th time, oh, maybe I should use this word instead, this
Yeah.
spelling. But it's the same idea, but still it gets you 80% there, right? And
Right.
so talking and having an auto type is much faster than going boom, 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 boom with your finger, right?
Yeah.
Same
It's crazy just all the different ways that you can leverage these things these days, and just but it takes a different, it's a separate skill set in being able to think that way about how to prompt it, what info to feed it. And I think it's great that you fleshed out some out a lot of that in the article. uh, I would recommend guys maybe looking at what are the tasks that are on your plate, and let me know if Irene, like, you're in alignment with this. Like, look at what the tasks are taking up the most time in your firm, whether they're one-offs or recurring, between you and your team, and start thinking about how could I leverage Poe or another chatbot in leveraging and making some of this stuff a little bit more streamlined.
thing.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, like, I don't know if you've tested engagement letters, if you've tested question. I think
Oh,
you mentioned
yeah.
their
My
stuff,
financial statement thing created the engagement letter for me.
right?
95% accurate because it's in the standards. Um,
Proposals? Are you doing that, or
well, I gave up responding to proposals a long time ago. My RFP is like one paragraph. You want more? I
that's
am not the
awesome.
person for you
I
because
love
I'm not sitting there doing these RFPs. I'm just
uh,
a small shop, and if you're into that, we are not going to get along.
which is
So
interesting because you work with a lot of nonprofits, right? That want that do the RFPs, right?
yeah, I'm at the smaller end. I'm at the more affordable end. You want the RFP and the staff. It's just me, myself, and I and Poe. So I don't have time for the RFPs. I
Yeah,
don't even bother. And the other thing too to point out is if it takes you less time, make sure you're still charging your fair value, all right? Not
yeah,
the hourly rate. Um, a great example is the oil change, or even a better example. I used to have Toyota. I'm now have Mitsubishi, but when I had Toyota, I had trucks, right, or SUVs.
hmm,
Taking off the front grille to change the light is painful. It's not that easy to take off those grills, all right? You need a special tool or 2 hours of work. Okay. So you go to the mechanic, they have the special tool that takes the light and changes the little light bulb. That's 5 cents, if that. Okay. And they charge you like 75 bucks, 50 to 75. And why are you paying so much? It only took them 5 minutes. You're
hmm,
paying for their expertise
hmm.
and their special knowledge and their tools, right? You're not
Yep,
paying for their time. You're paying that they're not ruining your grill. Okay. It's the same thing here. If it takes you a lot less time, make sure that you're still doing what's called the value billing and not
mhm.
the hourly billing because you're going to lose. Uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's the
How
value.
do you, this would be a good thing to talk about, because I love value billing, value pricing and value billing, and we leverage it with our clients when it comes to thinking about how to price advisory services, where we're focused more on their goals and the outcomes and the challenges on the high level that the businesses are working through.
Hmm.
How do you think about value pricing and value billing, and how to factor that when you're talking about compliance services like tax prep or bookkeeping or a review or something like that?
Well, so
How
I
do you?
don't do bookkeeping anymore. My
Okay.
sister does the bookkeeping.
Okay, sure.
She
Then
works through my company, but she's independent, right? I you you're not going to pay me my prices to do bookkeeping. If you,
Right.
you're pretty stupid. Okay.
Okay.
Or,
All
you
right.
know,
All right. Yeah.
and I know I can't tell you my prices because it would be called collusion, and the AICPA is
Yeah.
all over, do not say pricing. But
You don't need to go
trust
there.
me, you don't want to hire me for your bookkeeping. If you do, there's something wrong. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
That's
we'll
great.
just put that there. Um, I do a fixed price model, and it encompasses what my costs are, my time, and my knowledge, because my costs are my time is small, right? I mean, I use GruntWorks, I use Drake, so I use GruntWorks to input all the 1099s and stuff, and I use the AICPA checklist to go through it. So I actually do spend time reviewing and making sure I got everything, and
Right.
reviewing against last year and looking at the transcripts and make sure we're not missing anything. But that's the value, right? And I have again a whole checklist and a whole series of things to give you ideas on what to do. I love the tax book. They have fantastic marketing materials.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I suggest you're working and you should get an IRA, right? You're self-employed, set up a 401k, set up a SEP. They got marketing materials for all that. I just private label it and send it off, okay?
Right.
To so I try to automate but customize, I guess is the right word. And that's a fixed value, okay? If I'm working on, I was trying to do the advisory, but I decided more to focus on compliance and tax resolution.
Mhm.
The process flows are easier, and there's so many CPAs, which is good going into advisory work.
Mhm.
I just said, it's not for me. It's
Mhm.
just not my. I'd rather do the compliance stuff. You
Right.
can streamline it. You can
Yep.
sell it easier. It's just easier. It's not you.
Mhm.
Anybody can step in and do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Whereas advisory, they say anybody can step in, but not really. It's your
Mhm.
knowledge, right? Which I have a lot of that too, but still. Um, so
Of course. Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you have to,
Right.
you can't be all things. You can't do a shotgun. You have to figure out what you're good at,
Right.
what you like to do. What you're good at and what you like to do might be two different things. I'm really good at assembler programming, okay? But
Mhm.
after Honeywell, oh my God, it took like 3 days to solve one little problem because you had to map it all out. I don't even want to go there, but about 15 years ago, we got rid of the rule that you can read the tapes, the little dumps with, and the books and all that, because it's
Mhm.
very tedious. I didn't
Mhm.
say I liked it, but I was good at it. And they always came to me. But do what you like, and then figure out that focus on that. And the pricing will come to you. Um, if I see that a client is struggling, when you're doing somebody's tax return, you know if they're struggling or not, right? If I see they're truly struggling, I will give them a break, but I will show them the full price and courtesy discount so that
Right.
they know that they're getting a discount and that
Right.
that's not my usual pricing.
Right.
Um,
I think that's
so
great. That's kind of a version of like price anchoring. Like, you're kind of saying like this is what we standardly charge, and it just that psychologically will help people and not try to nickel dime you more than that, if that makes
right.
sense.
Or if you're just starting out in business, and you're just starting out and you have a simple business return, well, or you're struggling because every company just starting has startup costs and
Mhm.
then, you got to feed your family and, you might have to send your kids to school or
Right.
whatnot, right? So you don't have all that excess cash right away.
Hmm.
So here's my fee and here's the discount because you need it. And
Hmm.
I'd like to keep you as a client moving forward. If I don't
Right.
want to keep you as a client, you're not getting a discount, but that's a different issue. Um, but try to be fair, talk to people.
That's awesome. It's really impressive what you've done over the years with this firm, and I think your team's small for a reason. I'm sure some people would be really impressed by how much work is probably getting done over there with because you're leveraging some of these tools and
Yeah,
automation. You know,
yeah, I like working for me. Yeah.
right?
I'm the
Yeah.
boss. I tell myself where to go and, set my hours. It's great.
So, just as we wrap up, Irene, do you have I guess first of all, where can people find you?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I can put in the chat my web address. You can
Okay.
find me here.
Sure.
Um,
If you want to put it in here with us, or if you want to put it in the Facebook,
there you go.
got it. I will put that in the chat for you guys. And then
Mhm.
any parting thoughts or words or insights that you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, take care of yourself. Don't sweat it. Um, some people sweat, right? The almighty deadline. It's always tomorrow. And especially with this upcoming tax season, April 15th is a great goal, but there's that thing called the almighty extension, right?
Uh-huh.
And if your client is bickering with you over price, over something like that, it's not worth it because they're always going to bicker with you. They're always going to be upset with you. And I tell this to a lot of people. You think about a year from now, will you care about this issue? And if the answer is no, then just namaste, just let it be. But if you
Right.
do care, okay, so if somebody's bickering with you with pricing and you give them a discount, they're gonna bicker with you again every year, and the time you're spending trying to make that person happy, who's not going to be happy, by the way, they're never going to be happy. As soon as
Mhm.
they start fighting with you, they're not going to be happy. You could lose another client potentially who would be happy with you and who will pay you more.
Mhm.
So know your worth and don't let anybody tell you you're not worth it because you're on this class, right? I think it's free, but it's
Yeah.
still you spent your time, all right? So you spent an hour with us of your time, which is precious because you can't get it back, right? So even though you're not paying for it, you're still spending time. And I remember during COVID, I was on the digital CPA conference thing, and everybody was complaining about how they can't get good help, and and they were having trouble finding employees who wanted to work remotely, blah blah blah.
Yep. Yep.
And then I was on it virtually, and then we broke out into groups, and people were complaining that their employees wanted an extra monitor. Okay,
Right.
they wanted them to buy a chair, a comfortable chair while they're working at home. And I'm thinking these are the same people who were complaining that they couldn't find value help. And now they're complaining about 300-400 bucks for a night. It's not even. I think a monitor is a couple $100.
Think about what's the real, what
I mean,
that's, where I
how
think
can,
that's coming
yeah,
from.
what is your problem, right? I mean,
Well, I think we have this conundrum of we want everybody to like us, right? I think that I have that problem sometimes. I think a lot of us have that problem of we don't like that letting people down or that feeling. And that can cause us to have low pricing, low margins. And when we have low pricing, low margins, it doesn't necessarily give us the profitability to do what we want for our team, for our clients, for to hire. And I think that like there is some parallels there between those two things, if that makes sense. And I'm
yeah.
not saying it's the whole story, but I think that's something to look at.
And the other thing is you will get bad reviews. I got bad reviews. I mean, clients, I up front when I meet with a client, I tell them I'm not a home office. You expect an answer right away or a tax return done right away. It's not going to happen. I'm not for you. And they still hire me. I get a 50% retainer fee up front. So there's skin in the game with the client before I do one bit of work. I don't deal with this, oh, I promise you, but no, 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 no. You're a new client. You got to pay up front. And then the following year, like if you gave me a hard time, right? I know what's involved. You got to pay me everything up front before I'll touch you. Okay. And so people get upset and I don't respond because, first of all, in Massachusetts, it's very challenging to respond, but
Mhm.
I don't even bother. I really don't. So either you like me or you hate me, one of the two. I don't really care and I don't take it personally.
We
So,
should we should have that. I mean, we need to do a whole separate session just on boundaries, and that's a massive
yeah.
opportunity for the audience too. But and I think with the way your progression is you jumped in, you came into a firm where there was a bunch of clients that were underpriced that maybe weren't paying prepay at all. I don't mean I don't
So my
I'm
mom, so my
right.
mom was, I mean, I can remember
Right.
many years ago, this woman was 85 years old. I mean, I don't think she's alive anymore. If she is, heaven bless her. And her capital gains taxes were like six digits, okay?
Mm.
But she wanted her $20 off discount off. We just raised the fee. And
Uh-huh.
she started hitting me with her cane. What do you
Oh
do when
my
an
God.
85-year-old woman hits you with the cane? So I
Oh
looked
my.
at my mom and I said, I'm going out to grab lunch. Do you want anything? Because you can't even defend yourself. God forbid the woman fall on your property and sue you, right? And we're not talking a lot of money here. I think my mom charged her like $300 or something, and she wanted to pay 275. It's
Yeah.
like it
Right.
was ridiculous, right?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
just said, I looked at my mom and said, do what you want, but I'm going for lunch. And I don't have those clients anymore,
Hmm.
right? And she was just something else. She was really nasty. And I
Right.
thought, my God, you're so, you're old. I mean, I don't mean to like imply that rich people are nasty, but this woman, she had plenty of money.
Hmm.
She wasn't hurting for anything. And $20, $25, and the fee was like 300, 325. I mean, come
That's
on.
crazy.
It is crazy. And I pointed that to my mom. And it's funny because my mom said to me when she retired after a year, she said, I feel so much better. I should have done this sooner. And I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah.
should.
Thanks, Irene. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's what did you always have this? Did you come in with similar attributes and then you transformed
Well, I
yourself?
have a mentor, Sandra Johnson, Sandy J, Sandy Johnson.
Sure. Sure.
I learned a
Yep.
lot from Sandy Johnson and others as well. And
Hmm.
early on, I learned. And then about 2.5 years ago, I got really sick. I got bacterial pneumonia. Like I almost died. Every
Hmm.
nurse I said I was supposed to be dead. Like I
Wow.
think Donna had it. I think, yeah. I lost 50% of my breathing. I was supposed to be dead. And I guess every nurse said that. And it was in the summer. And most of my clients they were those that were on extension were very upset, and my sister had to deal with them. And one of them actually complained to the Board of Public Accounts. He was ridiculous, but whatever.
Wow.
But when you're really dying, and seriously, when you really are, you really don't care about your clients, and they don't care about you. They say they do. Actually, a couple really did care, but most do not care.
Right.
They just want it done, and it's that type of relationship. And that's
Yeah.
when I realized, like, I can't keep doing this. And I was high, but not that high. After
Hmm.
that, I changed everything around.
Hmm.
I doubled my prices because I was low, thanks to my mom. And because you just can't, if you're low, you just can't like quadruple your prices overnight. You have to do it gradually, right? I
Yeah.
mean, just think about if you go for an oil change that's $50, all of a sudden it's 200. You're not going to go there. You're probably pretty upset. So there's also some reality because we all have to eat at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know,
I don't think it can be 400, but it also doesn't need to be just 500.
right.
I mean, you can have a pretty decent price increase, I think, and I've seen some really good results with 30 to
Absolutely.
50. It
Yeah.
doesn't be like a tiny amount for sure, but I hear you on that.
Yeah. Plus, I had to deal with my mom and her emotions. So,
Yeah.
we're very close and we're still very close. So, she would
Yeah.
feel bad. And then
Uh-huh.
when she retired the first year, it was hard for her because the clients would call and complain to her, and she would call me, and I say, I'm working on it, but they know that they could call Millie and get Millie to get Irene, moving, and it didn't work, and
Right.
frustrated her. Year two, they called her, and she's like, yeah, you got to talk to Irene. Year three, she made sure from year three to like year seven, and during tax season deadlines, she was on vacation.
Wow.
You couldn't
Wow.
reach her. So.
Good for both you and your mom. Like that took a lot of perseverance and
Oh
great.
yeah, but it was just really funny how quickly she decided, I don't want to take these calls from all my clients. I'm away. And I would tell them, I said, they'd say, I'm going to call Millie and complain.
What did she
Go
check
right
her?
ahead, but she's on vacation.
Was
She's
she
not answering.
was she still an equity owner in the firm? She knew how you guys were doing. I'm sure she wasn't. I imagine things were going the
No,
right
she was very nice. She gave me the firm.
Yeah.
It was her gift to me. But
That's
but
that.
I modified it. Most of my clients were not her clients, right? I changed the
Right.
whole business model eventually. But
That.
I still have some of her old clients, and they still get some nice price discounts because,
Hmm.
they're more up to speed. They're easier to do.
Yeah.
Um, and they don't
Sometimes
want to
it
go to
takes,
anybody else.
sometimes it takes because we're I'm in what we do with helping accountants to do to raise their prices, implement advisory. We're helping with these big things that are putting people outside their comfort zone. Like
Hmm.
it sounds like there was a some an event that happened to you, with you, health wise, and thank God everything's okay. But that helped lead you to making some substantial changes. And sometimes, sometimes it's like you need like a life to slap you in the face, or something needs to happen for you to say enough is enough. But you know, I don't know what to say. It's just like sometimes it just takes that moment of enough is enough.
Right. Well, for me, I was working a lot of hours and I still work hours, but not as many.
Right.
And if I have the opportunity to go out in the afternoon or do something, I'll do it. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll pick up the work at 9 p.m. at night because I work for me. Doesn't matter. It'll get done, but it may not get done right away, or it might be a couple days later. I might have said, oh, Friday, but then something came up. Like, good example, I have to reschedule a meeting tomorrow because my niece, who family's always first, my niece lives in New York City and college
Mm-hmm.
student. Oh, sorry, that's Siri. College student coming home to do laundry, right? That's it. Coming home to do a whole bunch of laundry, bring in the cat, and then going. Well, she's Jewish, so she's going over somebody's house for Shabbat. She's going home.
Mm-hmm.
So I am rearranging my schedule to go out for lunch with her, and I'm gonna have to tell the client we're gonna do something else, and something that was gonna be done tomorrow is probably gonna be done over the weekend,
Right.
right? So a
Right.
few days, 2 or 3 days slippage. I will tell my client this, but I'm not gonna tell them why. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say I'm a little behind and I'll let them know. And if they really get upset, they can go somewhere else. But they're not going to get upset, right? I mean, so just namaste, just relax. It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
If it's a deadline, if it's a hard deadline, even with resolution work, you're working with an RO, they understand life. They really do.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, we'll give you another week or 2 weeks. Now, don't do that with the client, all right? Especially in resolution, because they're notoriously dragging their feet. They haven't paid the IRS or the state in years. What makes you think, a deadline's going to be a big deal to them? Okay. Yeah. So you need to be, you need to be a little discretionary how you do this. But, at the end of the day, like I said, will it matter in a year from now? Your health will matter, right? But getting that job done, getting that report done, does it really matter? Does your client, when you punch out that in an advisor, you punch out the set of reports and you email it to them and you get some and you're feeling good. Your client might not even look at it until 2 or 3 days later,
Right.
unless you have a meeting with them, right? And then you can reschedule the meeting unless they're going away on vacation or something. And if you're working well with your client, you would already know that, oh, next week they're going on vacation. So something went wrong. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Siri.
Siri. Don't you love Siri? So you would know that it needs to be done. I mean, you plan for it, right?
Yeah.
Just,
Chill.
just
Chill out.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, feel like a cat. Just chill.
That's awesome.
Just
Uh,
chill.
Irene, thank you so much for coming in,
Thanks, Charlie. It was great.
your words of wisdom, and just all the incredible, things
I'm
you're.
on Facebook. You guys can look me up. You know, feel free to friend me, but send me a message because I have a lot of that you're messaging me and you saw me on Charlie or something because I have a lot of people that they fake IDs. They all want to message me. So like especially if you don't post or anything, I'm trying not to get the fake IDs.
Mhm.
There's a lot out there. So
Oh, all right, Irene. Well, we'll have to have you back here soon, okay? But I
thanks,
really
Charlie.
appreciate you taking the time today, and learned a lot. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Welcome.
you. And
Take care.
all right, guys. Okay. See you,
Bye.
Irene.